Hello and welcome! It's time, after all this time, for a video on how to heal! We're going to be running the exact same dungeon as before, with how to heal. So, the big thing to remember with healing, in my opinion, in FF14, is that don't panic. Focus target the tank, so that you can see their health at any time. That's bound to shift focus for me. And don't cast anything on the tank. No regens, no heals, no shields, until after they've done the pull. Right after the pull starts, you pop a regen on there, you can pop a shield on there, and you'll be fine. I just barely didn't need that. And then you kind of just, you go, right? So your tank is going to be using their cooldowns. They're going to be giving themselves extra defense. But if you are able to focus down the important things to remember in healing, you can heal even when your tanks aren't using their cooldowns, honestly. It's like a thing where your tanks should always be doing it, but sometimes they just won't. So you need to be ready to heal even if they're not, which means you need to be ready to put out constant healing. But realistically, you probably don't have to. So how do I heal? I immediately pop a shield and a regen on the tank at the start of the pull, and then I start DPSing. If I see that the tank's health gets below or close to half, then I start healing them. Other healers heal the tank as soon as they take damage, which is fine. Your own choice on that. Your mileage may vary. He's at 77. I'll go ahead and pop a heal on there, but he doesn't really need it. He no longer has a regen, but I can just do a quick medica. Give us all regen, and now he's regened up again. I am going to go ahead and pop him another shield. Yo. And then I'm going to go back to DPSing. White Mage is probably the easiest one to just focus down healing, because of the sheer number of abilities it has for healing, but all the other healers are good as well. Now, because we're using Trust, I have to initiate every pull. As a healer, you should be letting your tank initiate the pull, especially when you're in new dungeons at level. You don't want things hitting you first. You want them hitting the tank first, if at all possible. Now we have a selection of abilities that allow us to make things easier on the tank. We have our Asylum. I almost called it Hollowed Ground. That's the Paladin involved. Asylum that lets the tank take less damage while he's within that. We have Confession, or Temperance as it's called, but Confession stacks is what it gives. We don't actually have that yet. We get that at 80, but it's in my head to use it because it reduces the incoming damage. And then again, as you can see, if the tank is using his cooldowns correctly, you kind of don't have to heal him on trash pulls. Maybe every once in a while, maybe if he doesn't dodge something, but for most of the time, you kind of can just go. Now, early game, like levels 15 to 40 or so, you'll probably have to heal a little bit more then. Tank has a lot less cooldowns. He's going to be taking more damage earlier on, but over time, that becomes almost nothing. And if your tank wants to do a big pull, let's go ahead and trigger this next wave here. If your tank wants to do a big pull, you may worry that you're not going to be able to heal him enough. Well, you have some panic buttons. Don't forget your panic buttons. I'm actually going to use one on myself right now because Thancred hasn't grabbed those guys yet. White Mage has Benediction, which is a full heal, which is incredible. We have Swift Cast that allows us to get another cast off really quickly. And as you can see, he's already back at full. We didn't have to use any regens. We didn't have to use anything fancy. He's already back at full. There's a Swift Cast. Good to go. I'm going to go ahead and use another Medica 2. Give us all regen. And then I'm going to pop a regular regen on him because you can stack those. I'm going to go ahead and give him an additional shield. And then we're going to go back to DPSing. Now, when you're in a trash mob pull like this, you're going to want to use Holy because it has the chance to stun as well. And it does a lot of damage. It's a very powerful ability. For Scholar, you'll want to use the new AoE that it has, the Ground Pound. And then for Astro, you have your Earthly Star, which is very good as well. But keep in mind, you'll need to keep an eye on the tank's health the entire time. Use a Size to get a quick heal in there, and then use your Lilies to get him up for a really good heal. Now again, if your tank's using his cooldowns correctly, you shouldn't have to do much. Your regens will do most of the work, and that allows you to focus on DPSing. But if you're gonna focus on DPSing, pay attention to your mana. On White Mage, you have a quick cheat in the form of Thin Air. So what I normally do is I pop Lucid Dreaming and Thin Air at the same time. They don't have the same cooldown, but realistically, you shouldn't have to be popping Lucid Dreaming on cooldown. If you're having to use it every time it comes off cooldown, there's a problem. Something is not right. But for the most part, you should be able to just breeze your way through. Care of it, Thancred. Take him, Thancred. Take him, Thancred. Thank you. And so you see, I just used Asylum there. Thancred has basically moved out of the Asylum. If you're a tank and your healer's trying to do some work there, please don't do that. Please don't move out of the Asylum. Please stay in the Asylum. It's not hard. Alright, we've got our regens up. Now we're going to Holy. And I'm going to then immediately swift cast a second Holy. So we get the damage out twice. Because it has the stun, it also works kind of like a cooldown for your tank, which means that you just have that to back up your tank at all times, which is really cool. Again, stun resistance comes in after a little while, so it's not as effective to stun, but it still does really solid damage. So, as you can tell, Thancred's really not taking that much damage. He's using his cooldowns. He's got Heart of Light up right now, I think. And then we're putting regens on him. I regened myself there because I wasn't thinking. And another cool thing, if you're using your AoE abilities, you don't have to target an enemy, so you can stay targeted on your tank, and if they take a tank buster, and they take a bunch of damage, you just heal them up anyway. The big thing you want to manage is going to be your MP. Just make sure you don't run out because you need it. Stuff like Assize that doesn't cost MP, stuff like your Lilies for healing that doesn't cost MP, those are great, but all of your DPS abilities are going to cost MP. You need to keep that in mind. To me, healing in this game is easier than it's ever been. Tanking is the easiest it's ever been. Healing is the easiest it's ever been. We almost crashed there, I think. Oh, what happened there? Get the first boss in. And I will try closing Chrome and see if that helps our lagginess. And we should be good there. Okay. I have to pull again because Thancred is a trust, but in a regular dungeon, your tank should be pulling. First thing we're going to do here, we're going to shield him up, we're going to regen him up, and then we're going to lay down an Asylum. And then he's kind of going to be set. Now, raid-wide damage came in, so we're going to Assize for the AoE heal, and then we're going to Medica 2 for the AoE regen. This should keep all of our allies pretty much topped off. And then we just dodge the attacks. As you can see, everybody's back to full. Because of our regen. Reen took some damage. People have their... We're going to Benediction her just so she's back up to full. People have their party list in different places. I like it in the top left, personally, because when I'm in an Alliance raid, the rest of the Alliance is up there too. Right, now we saw that raid-wide was coming. I knew that was a raid-wide. I didn't prepare for it because I wanted to show recovering from one. But the next one we're going to prepare for it so that you can see what it's going to be like. Another thing to remember too, we don't have it at this level, but Afflatus Rapture, which is your Lily ability, is great because it allows you to AoE heal with Lilies, which don't cost MP. In fact, we're going to go ahead and get our MP back to full just for the safety of it. And we can do... Oh, she's already free, but we could have rescued Reen and pulled her away from that AoE. Her in there. Your job as the healer is kind of Team Mom, but it's also to do a bunch of damage because you're really powerful. Way more powerful than people think. See, I dropped the Asylum too late there to handle that raid wide, but another option would have been to go ahead and have the Medica 2 up first. Alright, Brazen Bull's the... Yeah, okay. Alright, we're going to need to move over here anyway. Thancred, move a little bit further, thank you. Alright, we're going to Asylum for the damage mostly. We need to move. I forgot about this one, and we're going to get out in time. We're good. They did too. Perfect. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and Medica 2 again. Because I think the raid wide's coming, and I want to prepare for that. I'm going to Confession. And then I'm going to use a regular Medica, so we proc Confession for the shield. Yep. And then here comes Path of Light. We already had the shield up. We're good to go. We took less damage. Not by a lot, but we took less damage in total. So again, by preparing for grade wides, you'll be far better suited to handling them when they happen instead of just doing them as they come. You might also notice we have kept our Dia up on the boss, which means our uptime on the boss for damage is 100% right now. We haven't dropped Dia once, even while we've been healing, which is great. We are set, basically. We're doing the best damage we possibly could. Really, what it comes down to when healing is just don't panic. It's going to be okay. You have the tools to get out of a bad situation. In fact, I think on the next boss, we're going to let Thancred get really low just to show that you can come out of a bad situation. And that's all there is to it. All right, now we still have to manage the running part. All right, and we're going to do another big pull here. I want to show that off. Because we can handle it. It's no big deal. Go back to Thancred. Oh, here we go. Here's an instance where he's gotten really low. Thancred, grab those, will you? All right, look at his health. 50, 44, 58. We need to heal ourselves, too, unless Thancred grabs the last one. There we go. I got it. So again, Benediction is literally a get-out-of-jail-free card. Use Benediction, you're good to go. We'll drop Asylum. We're going to use a Holy. And there we go. That pull that was about to end in complete failure, it was over. We have turned completely back around, as if it was nothing. We didn't panic. Stayed calm. We knew what our abilities did, and we easily solved. That's, again, when it comes to healing, keep calm, carry on. Gonna be okay. You have everything you need. Now, another interesting thing, because I've been using AoE, I still have Thancred selected, which means I can heal him without having to mess with the party list at all, because I've just been holying this trash mob pull. Granted, I'm not putting Diaz on them, but I honestly think when you have 3 or more enemies, it's better to just holy anyway than it is to Dia or Glare. Now we can start dropping Diaz in there for the extra damage. Little size. Yep. Because Holy does have a drop-off. But, you know, it's fine. It's fine. 140 is great when there's a bunch of people, but you have 300 damage on your glares. So there's not that many people left. You should probably be glaring your enemies. The pull's almost done. I want to heal Thancred, but I'm not going to use a regen, which he got a shield from his own Gunbreaker abilities anyway. But I don't want to use a regen or a shield because he's going to pull this next mob of enemies. And actually, let me show that here. If I regen Thancred, alright, well, I'm pulling anyway, so it won't matter. But if I regen Thancred, you gonna pull him, Thancred? You gonna pull him? There you go. They're on me, even though Thancred pulled them, because I cast an ability before Thancred could pull aggro. So, granted, he got him back really quickly, and with a good tank, you know, they're going to. But here's another good thing to show. Thancred has a slow on him right now. We can get rid of that with an Esuna. Now he's no longer slowed. That might save your tank's life. But again, regen, shield, asylum, a size. It's a great combo. It works every time. You get a bunch of health back for your tank. You get a shield up on your tank. You get regen up on your tank. And your tank's taking less damage. If you have Temperance, I don't know why I keep trying to call it other things. If you have Temperance and you cast it, then that can also be a huge help, but not something that's required. Yeah, up on there. And again, I haven't healed Thancred at all on that pull since that one moment. I'm going to go ahead and pull the next group. If I was Thancred the tank, I would have probably already pulled them already. Come on. Grab them, Thancred. Thank you, sir. Although if you'd used your AoE, you would have grabbed them all, but it's fine. All right, and again. Yep. And then we're gonna holy. Yeah. We'll begin glaring. I wish we had our Blood Lily, because I would be burning lilies way faster for the sake of the Blood Lily. But I don't, which is unfortunate. So the lily system is really interesting to me. You gain lilies over time. You spin your lilies to open up a bloom on the Blood Lily, and then you get a really powerful attack. 900 to the first enemy, and then drop off, which is really cool. It's really potent, but you have to be burning your lilies, so you're incentivized to use your lilies more often. So it feels weird to not be using them. I really use them a lot for my AoEs. All right, boss 2. Enough. Regen, shield, asylum, size, which he didn't even need the size there. He hadn't taken any real damage. So we will want to watch out for the tank buster here. Tankard will probably be prepared for it. The raid wide. It's important as the healer that you learn the names of abilities so you know what they do in a second round of the dungeon. We're actually going to go ahead and use another regular Medica here for the damage coming in. And another Medica 2 for the... You can't double up on your Regen 2 effect, but you can refresh it, basically. One thing that I always try to do. Okay. Raid wide. Okay, this is a stack marker. When the stack marker comes in, you want to be prepared for it. We don't have temperance to use, but that's okay. We barely took any damage because we were prepared for it. Okay. Square. Sacred Y. Okay, we're going to go ahead and use another Medic 2. An air. If I'd had Asylum up for that stack marker, that would have been great, but Temperance is my go-to normally. Okay, here comes another raid wide. See, I started casting mine after the raid wide started, which means I was able to heal through the raid wide. So we barely took any damage. And there comes another one with the raid wide. Another one. We could have besides there, but it's fine. Okay, this is the tank buster. We're going to use our shield. And he barely took any damage. Here comes another raid wide. And Assize. We put out the Assize right after the damage comes in. Your party doesn't even notice they got damaged. It's great. And again, we barely use Benediction. We barely use Tetragrammaton. That's because we have those if we need them. We're going to Asylum this. We take less damage. We're going to Medica 2, so we immediately regen the damage. It really just comes down to a science once you get used to it. It's crazy how simple healing actually is in this game. And very fun to me. I love that aspect of when I don't know the fight, I have to be really cautious, I have to be careful, I have to be on it. When I do know the fight, I can make the fight a science. I have it down to a craft. Here comes the AoE. And Assize. Now see, I timed it a little bit wrong there. We got the tick for Reed and Thancred. We didn't get the tick for me and Yerstola. So we still took our damage. I mean, they still took their damage too, but they healed right after it. We healed right before the damage took. There's the tank buster. I didn't use my shield. You see how much damage he took that time. Use an extra regen on him, and we'll use a Lily on him. And then we're going to swift cast a Medica 2. With that extra regen, we'll have a size up in just a second, but the boss is about to die anyway. We could just kill it, guys. We could just kill it, though. We could just kill it. Yeah, in that situation, probably would have been better to just burn the boss down than to try and do anything special there, because we could have just burned the boss down. That was an option that we had. But you know, it's fine. We're going to go for Oh, I don't think we can do big pulls here. I think we have to take out each mob in a row. All right, hey, Thancred, buddy. Thancred. Thank you. Badoo. And badoo. And then we're going to just instead of this. He's not going to move back in the asylum either. Oh, he did. Good job, Thancred. Good job. I'm proud of you. Quick cast a holy. Okay. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and lay down some Dias. I get a little caught up in my holies, honestly. I have not let tanks die because of it, but I have gotten tanks really low because I was too busy holying. But holy's really fun to use. It looks cool, and it makes me feel strong. I'm really excited for Sage. I cannot wait to play around with Sage and see what it can do. But yeah, from then it's just take them out. Systematically hand them down. As you can tell, like I said at the start of this, healing's really not that hard. It's just doing it. It's putting yourself out there and risking it. Risking that feeling of failure. Because that's the big scare, right? Is I may not be good at it. I'm going to let my tank die. If you let your tank die, that's okay. I mean, it's not good. You shouldn't have done it. But it's okay, because next time, you won't let the tank die. Or maybe you will, but you'll get closer to not letting them die. And little by little, you get to the point where your tanks aren't dying at all normally. If your tank dies now, like if my tank dies now, I made a big mistake, or the tank made a big mistake, or something went terribly wrong. Or the tank is a friend of mine and I let him die on purpose. So, like, it is okay, right? Especially in new content, it is okay if you are not 100% doing the right thing all the time. Because they have given you enough tools that even when you're not doing the right thing 100% of the time, even if you're only doing the right thing 50% of the time, you're probably going to be okay. You have the options to be able to pull out of it. It's going to be all right. When you panic and you immediately start like running around, or running around is the big one. Like, I see it all the time from new healers, and especially in lower dungeons, and they panic. Because if you start to cast an ability and you run around, you interrupt your ability. So you've wasted that cast, you've wasted time when you could have been doing some damage, or you could have been healing somebody, because you panicked. When you run, when you use the wrong ability because you're panicking, you're not doing anybody any favors, you're not doing anybody any good, and it would be a whole lot better if you just took a second, focused, and used your abilities. All gonna be okay. We're gonna thin air, presence of mind, we're gonna size, holy again. Right now, holy costs nothing because of thin air. And we're regening NP because of lucid dreaming. This is why I normally pair them up together. And we're gonna go ahead and just Dia. And again, my healing's not perfect. Nobody's healing is perfect, right? Every healer can do more. But once you get into this rhythm, as long as your tanks are not dying on purpose, you should be okay. Now, a new tank is going to make mistakes. They're going to forget to use cooldowns. If, let's say, for instance, you have a tank that's not using cooldowns, because Thancred's using them, so obviously this is what it should look like. Maybe a little bit faster. Thancred's not doing everything he could be doing. If your tank is not using cooldowns at all, you're going to have to be healing a whole lot more. You're going to need to be using your lilies more. In fact, it may get to a point where you feel like you're wasting healing and wasting NP because you're overhealing if your tank is not using cooldowns. But when those tank busters come up, you're going to be using Benediction. You're going to be using Tetragrammaton, even if you normally don't use those abilities, because you have plenty of other things that do the job for you. However, hopefully your tank will use his cooldowns correctly, or their cooldowns correctly. I say his because all of the tanks that I've run with are guys. But hopefully they will use their abilities correctly, and you'll be good to go. If they don't, it's okay. You can still make it through. I have healed through plenty of dungeons where the tank never touched a cooldown. It's annoying. I don't get to do holies as much as I want, but we still win at the end of the day. So just keep that in mind. If you're a healer, you may have to work a little bit harder if your tank's not using cooldowns. If you're a tank, use your cooldowns. Your healer will thank you. Your dungeon run will go faster because your healer will be able to DPS more. And as we go up here to the final boss, we get into what to do as a healer if you're the one that gets got. If you get grabbed or if a party member gets grabbed, do you help? Do you run? Do you prioritize yourself? We haven't even brought in raising. Raising is a very important thing that you'll need to be doing. You should probably try and save thin air for it as well if your party's dying a lot. But realistically, if your party's dying, if you're in a 4-man and you're having to raise all the time, there's a much bigger problem. If you're in an 8-man or a 24-man, you're going to be raising a lot anyway because that's just how it is. Those dungeons have incredibly high, and trials have incredibly high damage numbers. All right, we're going to Asylum here. Not really going to matter, but this is the tank buster, so I wanted to Asylum for it.
This is going to leave a mark.
Big boss fights like this are really tough for healers early on because you have to try and do a bunch of things all at once. But once you get the handle down on what you're doing, not that big of a deal. This does show another issue though, which is sometimes your allies, like Y'shtola there, don't get the heal because they're too far away. So obviously we want to get Y'shtola out of grab, and we're going to Tetragrammaton her. Even though we probably could have just assized our Medikitude, we are going to go ahead and get a regen up on everybody. And a second one on Thancred. But realistically, we're doing fine. I'm on the wrong side. There we go. We're doing fine. She was too far away. We got to her and made up the difference. It's fine. There are some healers that'll say, if you're out of range of my heal, I'm not healing you. You might as well just die, and I'll raise you. To me, it's a lot cheaper to just go ahead and heal them than it is to raise them. But, you know, hey, if you decide to let them die and stay dead, that's your call. You're the healer. Everybody has to abide by your rules, whether they like it or not. Size. Regen. Regen's going to need a second healing. Yep. And it's just this, again. When you don't know the fights, they can be incredibly scary, but to me, there's also some fun in that, of healing a fight you've never been in before. Trying to figure it out. Pendulum, this is where he's going to jump. Edge. Jump back in. Peace. Oh no, I'm in the exact wrong spot. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, I died. Yep. I called that one wrong. So we have to do the fight over again. But yeah, it's gonna happen. It's okay when you make a mistake. It is okay when you forget something. It is okay when you mess up. Important thing is learning from your mistakes. As a healer, it is your job to recognize the mistakes that you and honestly the rest of the party are making so that you can make sure that you're aware of them for next time. If you're doing Leviathan and there's a party member that keeps falling off, you have rescue. Rescue them to you if they go the wrong way. Should they learn on their own? Yes. Will you clear the content faster if you help them? Yes. As a healer, it's worth it to put in that little bit of extra effort, in my opinion anyway, to make sure that you get your clear. But that's just me. Again, if you want to spend forever and just let them die, that's your call. At the end of the day, you're the healer. The tank sets the pace for the dungeon, but you decide who lives and dies. Alright. This time we're going to do it. Because I don't really have anything else to talk about. If we had done it right the first time, if I had done it right the first time, it would have been great. Because we've kind of covered everything I was planning on covering. You can move through the boss, like I showed you right there, to be able to get your healing off. Your allies are going to spread out so far that it's going to be almost impossible to hit everybody with every healing that you do. But if you know they're spread out, but closer to the middle like they were there, then you can do a quick maneuver from in the middle and hit them all. This time he grabbed Green.
Are you all right?
And Blair, and then she should be good. Fires off an ether sup. I make those sound effects even when I'm not recording, because I'm a dummy. Yes.
This is going to leave a mark.
Right now. And again, keeping up your uptime on your dot is very important. Yeah, it is free damage for the entire fight. Why wouldn't you keep it up, you know? A lot of people devalue dots because they go, it's not that much damage, really. No, it's a whole lot of damage because it's over the course of the entire fight. While you're healing, you're still doing damage. Yep, nothing because of that. Again, it's really simple. Once you know, says the guy who just died, right? Once you know what you're dealing with, it's really simple to keep people alive. Pendulum. Also, slide casting. That's the thing we should probably talk about with healers. This is very important. Right at the end of your heal, you can slide. I picked the wrong side. I picked the wrong side.
Hold back.
It's okay. We got this. We got this. We got this. You can slide and finish your cast, even though you're technically supposed to be rooted to the ground. Which is very helpful. I use it all the time. You may ask, why am I DAing again when my DA hasn't fallen off? It's because I don't know what the situation's like on the other side of the battlefield. I don't have time to do another glare in that moment, but I can get a DA while I move. And then if I needed to heal, I'm okay still. Regen Green instead of using a Medica like I planned to, but it's fine. We can assize. We're gonna move out of the way of that banish. Oh no. Oh, yep. Benediction. It is an important thing to remember too. If you don't have a red mage or another healer, if anybody dies, your healer can pick them up. If your healer dies, you're done. It's just the way of it. Keep your healer alive at all possibility. And if you're the healer, it's going to sound bad. Let somebody else die if it means you get to live, because you need to keep yourself alive. I know it's a lot of responsibility when I put it that way, but realistically, again, I had Benediction. I didn't even really need to use Benediction. I could have used Tetragrammaton. But you have all these options. This is the raid wide, so now we assize. Green was too far away for the assize. He was not too far away for the Medica. So again, like, it is a lot of pressure, but it's easy once you get it down. Getting it down is very difficult, requires a lot of practice, but that's all it takes, is just that practice. You will learn it if you keep trying. If you honestly interact with the systems, you will get it down. I think healing in this game is a lot of fun. I told you earlier I ran out of things to say when I died. I think healing's a lot of fun. I understand why people are scared of it. I was scared of it for a long time, but it definitely paid off, the investment that I put into learning how to heal. Because I have a blast with healing now. There we go. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Any tips you might have for healers that are trying to learn how to heal. And until next time, I've been Trey. This has been the Full Spectrum. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum that FF14 has to offer.